When farming here in American Samoa, you have to deal with a lot of weeds, and they grow really fast here. And while a lot of people will use herbicides, I don't like to use herbicides since they're toxic. So instead, I'm going to use one of my favorite elements, fire. This is what the weeds look like shortly after being burned. Now you may not notice it as much first, but you can tell that they're wilted. And especially even the bigger ones that have the more succulent ones, they're also wilted. As you can see in the videos, I always burn shortly after rain and the ground is saturated to reduce the risk of a wildfire. Because even though the climate is very wet and we're less likely to get wildfires, I still do it after rain just to stay safe. This is what the weeds look like in the following days after being burned. As you can see, most of them have turned brown, and some of them, will survive and regrow again, so you can either hand pull them or burn them again, but it's definitely very effective, and it's very safe to use here in American Samoa since we have a wet climate. But I always do it after rain because there's a lot of leaf litter and sticks and I don't want to catch fire. And another thing to keep in mind when using the flame torch is to always do the edges, because if you burn in between the desired crops, the surrounding heat will also will burn the crops as well. Which is why it's always important to take these precautions when using fire, because fire will spread and destroy everything in its path if one does not have the will to control it.